Good evening and welcome to this evening's board meeting. We'll start with the pledge by Councilman Milton.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Brenda, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Present.
Councilwoman Carter. Present. Councilman Froelich.
Present.
Councilman Isaacson.
Present.
Supervisors Eleven.
Present. Under correspondence, just want to let everybody know that voting has been changed for about 90% of the town here. Only District 8 will be voting here. Everyone else, well, most everyone else will be at the firehouse on Geyser Road. And I think last week or so you probably should have gotten another notice giving you the new location. Just want to let everybody know about that. Under correspondence, we have a letter from the Saratoga County. It says, enclosed herewith, please find a copy of the notice of public hearing for the 21 scale of sewer user charges proposed by the Saratoga County Sewer District Number 1. Public hearing is scheduled for 9 a.m. on November 5th at the Board of Supervisors Chambers in Ballston Spa. A copy of this notice has been forwarded to each of the supervisors within the district. Kindly post this at your next notice at your town hall and bring it to the attention of town council at its next regularly scheduled meeting. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and the restrictions set forth in Governor Cuomo's Executive Order 202.1 and extended by Executive Order 202.67, public comment will only be received in writing by email message to publiccomment@SaratogaCountyNY.gov or by written correspondence and addressed to the Clerk of the Board, Saratoga County Board of Supervisors, 40 McMaster Street, Ballston Spa, New York, 12020. All written public comments must be received by the Clerk of the Board no later than 9 a.m. on November 5th. Very truly yours, Michael Norton. Next up is the resolution honoring Gaylord Brunel as he turns 90 years old. His birthday is next week. Whereas the Town Board of Milton is proud to honor Gaylord Brunel, an 89-year resident of the town who will turn 90 on November 1st, 2020. Whereas Gaylord Brunel was born on November 1st, 1930 at Saranac Hospital and is the son of Monroe and Electa Brunel. And whereas Gaylord is a 1950 graduate from the Ballston Spa Central School District, and whereas Gaylord proudly served in the 25th Division of the Military Police during the Korean War, and whereas Gaylord was employed with and served the Ballston Spa Police Department and the Saratoga County Sheriff's Department for over 30 years, and whereas Gaylord Brunel was also employed with ARM Construction and Pompa Brothers Stone Quarry for 14 years, and whereas Gaylord Brunel has 2 children, his son Master Sergeant Mark Brunel, who is deceased, who served in the U.S. Air Force, and his daughter Jill Sharonard, along with 4 grandchildren, Justine, Jordan, Lauren, and Caleb. And whereas Gaylord Brunel served his community as a firefighter with the Union Fire Company in Ballston Spa from 1954 through 1967. And whereas Gaylord Brunel's hobbies have included small engine repair, golf, woodworking, and he now spends much of his time as an avid reader. Therefore, be it proclaimed by the Town Board of the Town of Milton does recognize Gaylord Brunel in celebration of this special milestone in his life, and the town pauses in its deliberations to honor him and his family, and wishes him good health and happiness in the years to come, dated today's date. So, happy birthday to Mr. Brunel. I can tell you he chased me many a night when I rode my mini bike down Rollins Street, and I probably shouldn't have been, so we'll get that out to him. Next up is a presentation by Attorney Toohey on the 91 Hutchins Road Senior PDD amendment.
Thank you for allowing us. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. I'm here with Tom Saniscott, Joe Danable. We've gone before you and before your planning board with regard to this matter. Hutchins Road Senior Housing is a project that was approved by the town board as a planned development district in 2018. It has 52 units. And all those units, when it was first designed, had single-car garages and 1 parking space behind the garages. Tom Samuscott, as he's marketed the property, has discovered that there are a number of people who would like to have 2-car garage in relation to the units. As a result, we have not increased the number of units at all. There is nothing else that is changing with regard to the site, with regard to setbacks and buffers and things like that. But we are introducing 19 2-car garage units within the property. Joe's got the layout of them. Now, we came before the town by petition on September 10. The town then, you then had us before you, so you received the petition. And that was on the 23rd of September. You sent us over to the planning board. We appeared before the planning board at their last meeting. And the purpose for that was to have an advisory opinion as to whether or not the planning board thought there was any impact with regard to the changes. They sent back to you, we understand, a positive advisory opinion that there was no impact. They also wanted to designate you as lead agency for the seeker that has to go through. We've submitted the seeker form. As a result, we're here to answer any questions you may have with regard to this particular project, and in the hopes that you will have us back at your next meeting, which I believe is the day after Veterans Day, the 12th, so that we can have a public hearing and move on with this. There's another aspect of this that Jim Craig and I have had emails back and forth on. One of the things I wanted to do more than Tom wanted to do is to streamline the PDD legislation so that if there is changes to this plan, just to this one, this is not universal for PDDs in the town, that have little or no impact, such as, in my mind, changing nothing other than the number of 2-car garages or putting 2-car garages. We could streamline this process so that we would send the town board notice of exactly what we're going to do. You then could make a determination as to whether or not you want us to appear before you, or in my mind, this is more of a planning function than a legislative function, and we could go there. If the town board is not pleased with that kind of concept, that's fine with me. I just try to streamline this process from being one that takes several months to one that could possibly be done in 2 meetings.
I have one question, or a couple of questions.
Sure.
By adding these garages, are you, obviously green space is going down, but how close to the green space limits are you getting by adding these garages?
Joe?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that, but we got people on Zoom and they can't hear you.
Okay, Joe, let me have it.
I got it right here. So yeah, the requirement for the PDD was to have green space at 60%. The approved plans showed 77% green space. We're going to go down by a little less than 2% to around 75% green space, so certainly well within the requirements of the PDD legislation.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I got one quick question.
Mike, Jim. Sorry. Someone's going to say they couldn't hear.
I have one quick question, Joe. It's probably minor. Top left-hand corner, where you show the double garage, right there, no, right there. That meets the setbacks. Looks to me like it's right for the buffer.
That meets the setback requirements as per the PDD legislation. We're probably about 4 to 5 feet beyond the required setback distance. If you recall, that northern property line was a setback with a buffer that either was going to be treed or the trees were going to be removed and new vegetation planted. In that regard, we did remove some of the vegetation as part of the planning process and have a substantial evergreen buffer currently being installed, about 60 to 70 evergreen trees.
One of the questions that kind of feeds into that is there were trees that were removed. People have noted that. We're putting back in about 150 new trees, 5 or 6 footers that will go on the buffer area. The greener trees that you see at the top of the plant, that was all designed from the beginning, and those trees are on site.
First delivery came, we got 3 more tractor trailers showing up in the next couple days.
So again, what we will do is comply with the rules that were imposed in 2018 when we began the process.
Okay. So then I need a motion to set a public hearing for November 12th, 7:35 on the proposed PDD amendment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Carr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalapnik.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we need a motion to accept the resignation of Kelly Simmons as Animal Control Officer.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Ryan second.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Carr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalapnik.
Yes. Next up is the motion to advertise for 2 part-time dog control officers at a rate of $15 per hour. In the meantime, I have reached out to Supervisor from Milton. He has sent us a reciprocal agreement where we can pay for dog control on an as-needed basis. Jim is looking over the paperwork, and as soon as we can agree on a final paragraph of this thing, I'd like to have, I will send that to you guys to look at for your approval. So, just so people know we're not going without animal or dog control until we can find something. So, I'll send you that paperwork as soon as Jim and I can get it straightened out. Did you have a motion? Did someone make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
Second.
You?
Any discussion?
I have a couple of things, actually. Have we defined what the responsibility of a dog control officer is? I've never heard of that type
Well, a dog control officer will deal strictly with dogs, no cats, no raccoons, no goats, no deer. Those will have to be called into either NCON or the sheriff's department. Unless we hire a dog control officer who has extra certification or training. It'll be strictly a dog control.
And the proper licensing.
of. So that would be a way to circumvent him being an ACO?
Yes. If the person that applies for the job and we hire them, if they have those extra certificates, they could do that part of the job, but until then, we're avoiding problems for us.
Actually, something I think we discovered.
Microphone.
Frank, can I use the microphone, please? Something, John, I think we discovered with the ACO, can't legally do any trapping or anything without the special licenses, which hadn't happened in this town since Richie Pine was in that position.
I understand that. My question is, now if somebody gets bitten by a cat, it used to be our officer that went out and took him down to the town to be quarantined. Who's going to do that now?
I can't answer that. I don't know where did the exception for the cats come in then?
I don't remember where that came in, John. I can look into it and let you know tomorrow.
where do we stand? Are we,
We're advertising for 2 people, it'll be part-time positions. The way some of the surrounding towns, that's right. The way some of the surrounding towns do it is they have a person that works 8 hours during the day, and somebody else works 8 hours, like 4 to midnight or 3 to 11, and they're on call. They're not in the building, they're just on call. They'll get paid $15 an hour for 20 hours a week, whether they have 1 call or 5 calls or 100 calls. They'll get $15 an hour, 20 hours for the week. That's the way a lot of other towns are doing it.
I think they're also responsible for. I think they're also responsible for being here at some time for the licensing, for delinquent licensing.
I guess that we define, and we probably can't define, if they go out on call at night, how long are we gonna pay them for? Is it gonna be an hour, 2 hours?
Our part-timers,
Yes.
they're gonna get paid for 20 hours of work a week.
To sit home.
Well, we didn't want to pay someone to be here 40 hours a week. We're going to pay somebody to be on call, then someone, do you really want to take the job for 15 an hour and sit home every night and hope the phone rings? You know, if someone has a better solution to taking care of the dog control problem, I'm all ears on the board. If anybody has a better idea, I'm all ears.
Well, I think we've missed the boat by not going down, having an animal control officer, whether they have, and encouraging them to get their licenses. Only due to the fact that essentially we're cutting services to the town, to the people that we represent, by changing the title and making it strictly a dog control officer. Now people in the town are gonna be put out because if they have a problem with a cat, basically we're gonna tell them, you know, go find somebody else. To me, I don't think we're solving a problem, we're just making something look good.
Yeah, I have to say, just putting in my two cents is that in retrospect and with 30 years plus working with the shelter, that I believe we would be much better off with a single full-time employee who can do all those things that our previous person was doing. And I think that would serve this town a whole lot better than 2 people that may or may not decide to be available on a certain day when they're called. That would be my preference.
So if I'm hearing correctly now, you'd rather we hired a full-time person at $20 an hour to be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
That's, I think, when we came through there last time that we
Microphone.
Yeah, last time we spoke, we had a really good candidate for, as a full-time employee. I think that would be the ideal thing for us, because there's a lot of wild things running around in this county, and Richie can tell you that there's work every day.
As long as you have those things in place.
But
Yes.
if you pass the test that says you can be an animal control officer, then you can be an animal control officer. But without the certificates for trapping and everything else, you can't do those things. So it doesn't matter if we have an animal control officer or a dog control officer. If the person can't put a wild animal in a cage, if this person can't trap a nuisance wildlife, it doesn't matter what we call them. So do we want to pay someone $20.08 an hour for work they can't do?
I don't necessarily think Doc is saying that. He's saying that we should get a person with proper credentials.
We've advertised 3 times now for this position, and the people that we've hired off the county list have passed the test for animal control officer, but did not have the certifications to do parts of that job.
I'm not disagreeing with that, Betty. I'm just saying, if we're gonna set the job up correctly, then we need to look at that. We have to get somebody in here and then train them with those credentials. That's what we should be doing, not kind of band-aiding this thing.
At this point in time, the state they're not even offering the courses for someone to be certified. We had a gentleman who was certified for a couple of things, but the state hasn't offered the test, so he couldn't even do that part of the job. He's taken all the tests he needed to do for trapping and one other thing, wildlife nuisance or whatever it's called. But because of COVID, the state hasn't offered the test this year. They have no intentions of offering the test at this time next year. So I'm saying it, I don't understand what good it does us to pay someone $20 an hour plus benefits when all they can do is catch dogs and the occasional cat that bites somebody.
But we also have not stepped outside the county list, right?
That's correct.
So we don't know if there's somebody else that might have. And I guess when you say we're gonna hire a full-time person for 24/7, 365, didn't you just say you haven't worked out a reciprocal agreement with Malta?
Yes, that would be $40 for the first hour and $10 for every 15 minutes after that. Or do we?
But
The first part of their call is, if they come out and look at something and it takes them 45 minutes to do it, we're going to pay a $40 bill. And if it takes them an hour and a half, then we're going to pay a $60 bill. I mean, that's an option too. Do you want to just sign an agreement with Malta and not have one? But they don't have someone 24/7. They have a guy who works from 7 to 3 and a guy who works from 3 to 11. I don't know what happens if somebody has a dog at 3 o'clock in the morning over there.
I don't know, it's always been a good, you always had really good service with people who did work for us. Because there's a lot of people calling middle of the night because there's a skunk on their lawn. And although I think everybody here knows that skunk is probably going to go away, but the person that's calling is screaming and yelling and going to make a real fuss and read the paper that we didn't come to her to take care of her with, I think everybody's had that experience, but I would still prefer, that we have a full-time. That would be my request, that we have a full-time person.
When I was trying to get coverage for, I think it was between Kelly and RSA, it was it was different. Everyone I called were all part-time employees. Most of the towns have part-time employees, and after reviewing the logbook, I think we would have pretty good coverage with 2 part-timers, and it would also be saving money in the tax department. So that's what I'm leaning towards. Thank you.
Yeah, this is our discussion.
Can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
No.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
No.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Thank you. Motion to reappoint Michael Hladek to the Board of Assessment Review with a term ending September 30th, 2025, and approve advertising for new Board of Assessment Review member.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Resolution 53 of 2020 to adopt a new retention schedule Resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Milton that the retention and disposition schedule for New York local government records issued pursuant to Article 57-A of the Arts and Cultural Affairs Law and containing legal minimum retention periods for local government records is hereby adopted for use by all officers in legally disposing of valueless records listed therein. Now therefore be resolved in accordance with Article 57-A, only those records will be disposed of that are described in retention and disposition schedule for New York local government records after they have met the minimum retention periods described therein. Only those records will be disposed of that do not have sufficient administrative, fiscal, legal, or historical value to merit retention beyond established legal minimum periods. Therefore, be resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Milton, duly adopted on October 28, 2020. Need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalata.
Yes. Next up is supposed to be a motion to accept MJ scope work for the rate hearing for Area Spring Sewer Works. I got a phone call this afternoon from Joel Bianchi. There are some issues that we need to iron out yet, so that motion will not be acted on tonight. Brenna, do you have the letter from bond counsel?
I have the resolution.
Okay.
Oh, the engagement letter?
Yeah.
It's on the desk.
Okay.
I thought you had one.
Well, I remember I was looking through, seeing if I had everything, and you said if I didn't mess anything up.
Do we have a cost for bond counsel?
$250 an hour,
Estimated number of hours?
8 to 10 hours.
Seven hours hearing for council couple. When Benny's talking?
No, of course,
When John, and no talking.
You didn't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Get right up in there. Right, right.
I have. Well, no, but you guys don't have a copy of the letter. But, this is from bond counsel Miller, Manick, Schachter, and Hafner. Whereas counsel was selected by the town as a special counsel for bond financing and of the other matters. Town and council hereby agree as follows. Council shall provide the town with legal services as requested. Compensation will be paid by the town for its legal representation on the amount of time spent in accordance with the hourly rate of $250 an hour. Council will submit monthly invoices for payment by the town, accompanied by any other vouchers and forms that the town may require. Council shall maintain professional liability insurance at all times. Council shall not discriminate against anyone on the basis of race, color, creed, or origin. Council shall comply with all federal, state laws, rules, and regulations. The parties have executed this agreement by their duly authorized representatives on this day of, to be today, 28th day of October, 2020. Need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second? I'll second it. You call the board, Brenda?
Any discussion?
Yes, I have something to say. Benny, I'm uncomfortable voting on this one, I haven't seen it until tonight. I haven't had the opportunity to read it. I did see some paperwork on it. Apparently what I saw was wrong because it said the bond was for 15 years and I understand we can only go 10. So I'm really having an issue with this, voting on something that we haven't previously had a chance to look at.
So Barb, the first document is just retaining bond counsel. Second one would be the resolution.
I know.
The first document, which is on the table right now, is just to retain bond counsel. I think you're referring to the actual resolution, bond resolution. Yes. Motion is to approve that letter.
I feel the same way. This is the first time I've seen the resolution, and I have not seen a copy of the letter today, other than hearing it the first time this evening.
You're comfortable with it?
Have you read it?
I have not seen it.
I have trouble voting on something the same night that I receive it. That's not enough time to review.
So how much of a time?
Another 2 weeks?
What do you say?
No. It's a pretty straightforward document.
No, not. It's a little irresponsible of us to vote on something we haven't reviewed.
Well, we voted on other resolutions that we all passed tonight that we just got tonight.
They're 1 page long, this is like,
This is just a letter for bond counsel, it's not a resolution for anything.
so we're gonna have a second motion on, there'll be a second motion on the resolution?
Yes.
Please hold the board.
All right. Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes, on retaining the bond counsel.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes?
Councilman Isakson.
No.
Supervisor Zalando.
Yes. Thank you. Resolution 54, authorizing rehabilitation of the Milton Town Hall, authorizing the issuance of up to $1 million of serial bonds of the town of Milton to pay costs of town hall rehabilitation, and authorizing the issuance of up to $1 million of line anticipation notes on the town for the same purpose. Whereas the town of Milton has been forced to temporarily relocate town offices and town courts from the town hall due to water infiltration and related issues, and whereas the town board has determined that town hall requires significant rehabilitation to address these problems, and whereas MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC has prepared a proposal of scope of services for architectural and engineering services associated with a multi-phase rehabilitation of the town hall and town court dated August 18, 2020. And whereas the town board has decided to undertake such rehabilitation and wishes to authorize the project and necessary financing. And whereas the roof replacement and related improvement below constitute 1, maintenance or repair involving no substantial changes in the existing structure or facility, 2, replacement, rehab, or reconstruction of a facility in kind on the same site, including upgrading buildings to meet building, energy, or fire codes, and such action does not meet or exceed any of the thresholds in 6 NYCCR section 617.4, and therefore are a type 2 action under New York CCR section 617.5 subsection C, and no further environmental review is required under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Milton, Saratoga County as follows. Do I really need to read all 19 sections here, 22 sections? Be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to prepare, post, and publish the appropriate notices for public hearing in accordance with town law. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any discussion?
Yes, so same remarks. This multi-page document I received this evening, and we as a board did not even review it together. I cannot vote on this without reading it in full.
Anybody else? Anything, hold board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr. No. Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
No.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Thank you. Resolution 55, authorizing budget transfers as per the controller. Whereas the town board of the town of Milton must make inter-budget transfers, and said transfers must be based upon resolutions of the town board of the town of Milton. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Milton does authorize the fiscal office of the town of Milton to make the following inter-budget transfers to the 2020 budget for budgetary shortfalls. From AA 1620-200 buildings and equipment outlay $8,000 to A 1620-4 buildings and contraction expenditures. From A 1999.4 contingency $3,000 to A 3010.4 emergency preparedness contractual expenditures. A 7989.2 other culture and recreational equipment and capital outlay $8,000 to A 7989.4 other cultural and recreational contractual expenditures. From A 1999.4 contingency $40,000 to A 9060.8 hospital and medical dental insurance and employee benefits for withholding error. From A 110.2 municipal court equipment outlay $3,550 to 1620.4 rental of real property contractual expense, that's the lease for the court space. From A 1620-2 buildings, equipment, and capital outlay $7,000 to A 1640.4 central garage contractual expenditures, that's the lease for the highway department space. From B 1999.4 contingency $4,500 to B 3620.4 safety inspection contractual expenditures $4,500. Total $74,050. Now therefore be resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. Need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Hold the board, please, Brenda.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Motion 56, resolution to hire a contractor to replace the HVAC unit at the town of Milton Community Center. Whereas it was recently discovered the HVAC unit at the town community center is in need of being replaced. And whereas the town has solicited bids and proposals for such work pursuant to town procurement policy. Whereas the town has received a quote and an estimate from B&B Plumbing and Heating located at 18 Division Street, Suite 401, Saratoga Springs, New York, 12866, in the amount of $7,592 to perform said work. And whereas the town board believes B&B Plumbing to be the best choice to perform the work at the most reasonable cost and best value and expense to the town. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Milton awards and hires B&B Plumbing Inc. to replace the HVAC unit at the town community center at a cost of $7,592 as indicated and shown in the attached proposal, plus any tax and incidental expenses. As it is further resolved, town supervisors are authorized to enter in and sign all necessary documents and pay all amounts needed to effectuate the same. Therefore, be resolved by the town board of the town of Milton, October 28, 2020. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Replaced.
Second?
I'll second.
And then, oh, I said I need a second.
I'm sorry.
My apologies. Any discussion?
Quick question, the 7592, was that their original bid?
I believe so. It's the only one we got from them, I think. I mean, I didn't see a second.
That number seems different from what I saw in two bids.
I thought we had three.
I don't think we had three, did we?
Yeah, we had three. There was two. There was
Three
two.
bids, yes.
Yes, we did have three bids.
That's fine.
Okay.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes?
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Motion to change the Wednesday, November 11th, 2020 town board meeting to Thursday, November 12th, 2020 at 7:30 due to the Veterans Day holiday.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Do we need a motion for this next part? Do we do or no?
Yeah.
We do, okay.
Question of the
Oh, okay. Sorry. Motion to move the revised tentative budget to the preliminary budget, make it available to the public.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
One quick question. I know I'd asked Dave this morning, by moving it to preliminary, I've been told before, and when our practice in the past was that we could only take away from the budget going forward, but we can also add to the budget going forward? Are there,
That is true.
are there any restrictions on that?
There may be a 10%. I would like to look into that further before I give a definitive answer in public, but I believe there's a 10% clause. We can only go upwards 10%. So, there is the ability to go up or down at this juncture.
Can't go down.
Yes, we can. Of course we can go down.
We can go both directions.
There's a cap on how far we can go up, but we
Yes.
can go up.
Yes. Yep. Thank you.
Ready? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Monthly reports, animal control, nothing to report. Building department.
Building Department report for September 2020. Dear Supervisors Zalotnik and town board members, during the month of September, the Building Department processed 27 building permits, collected $8,192.33 in building permit fees. We completed 163 construction inspections, 23 fire inspections, and responded to 11 code enforcement complaints. A total of 20 permits were closed, with 4 certificates of occupancy and 16 certificates of compliance being issued. We also collected $250 in zoning fees, $1,000 in planning fees, and $6,000 in sewer connection fees. Deputy Building Inspector Mark DeLong continues to attend the Certified Code Enforcement Training, which will be completed by October 9th, 2020. Tina Blanchard has taken an online training course through the Association of Towns titled 2020 Planning and Zoning School. We also continue to work with the Supervisor's Office on the Commercial Transition Project. Please find the appropriate itemized reports attached. Respectfully submitted, William F. Lewis, Building Inspector.
Buildings and grounds, Frank?
Okay, building and grounds activity for October 2020. They moved the court equipment from the senior center to the museum, acquired and installed security doors in the court system, and also installed carpets in that same building. They started repair on all of the broken plates, broken glass windows, and street lights, I'm sorry. So I got lost there. Beginning to do a rehab on the Veterans Corner, as well as the corner, that same corner hall, doing work on the external work for the town. Continuous leaf continuous leaf removal from the properties and removal of downed trees. Replaced some broken tiles in the senior center rec room. Replaced broken sprinklers in all of the parks. Worked on Kubota and tractor, the Kubota tractor and the Bobcat, prepping them for winter work. And also they they winterized and stored all of the building equipment, building and grounds equipment for summer. And that's what they did.
Thank you. Highway Department.
I don't have one from Highway, but I can give you a quick rundown of what they've been doing. I think they finished up their paving season with the one last road. They're pretty much on leaf pickup right now and getting their equipment ready for winter, probably coming quicker than we think, but that's where they're at right now.
Thank you, John. Town historian, I will read Karen's report. It says, I continue to be working from home, answering research questions, documenting the pandemic. The Historic Structures and Places Committee will be meeting tomorrow on October 29th at the Community Center. On September 24th, I attended a dedication ceremony at a new roadside historical marker located at the Saratoga County Homestead in Barkersville. It was commemorating the public health history that the facility provided. It started as a TB hospital in 1914 through 1960 and reopened in 1961 as a county nursing home that was finally closed in 1979 when the 11 remaining residents were moved to Maplewood Manor. In fact, the Travel Channel had an episode over the weekend, Searching for Ghosts there. You could probably watch it on YouTube. It was called Saratoga County Homestead. Being that the reenactment of the 1780 British raid on Middle Line Road was canceled due to the pandemic, there will be a Facebook Live premiere video that will be commemorating the event. This will take place on Thursday, October 29th at 7 p.m. Go to Facebook for Brookside and link to the look for the Brookside link to connect. My apologies. On October 1st, she attended a Zoom presentation by the Documentary Heritage Program of New York State titled Photographs in the Archive, Arranging and Describing Visual Materials. And on October 14th, she attended another one entitled Creating a Basic Inventory. Both programs were very helpful. Brookside Museum has been posting to their website many virtual programs in the wake of the pandemic. Please check out their website. An upcoming project they are working on now is about local country stores. I have been collecting information about these and making local connections to people to find out more about them. What I discovered is that on my records these records are sparse, and I have next to no pictures. I have only one picture of Tenny's store in Rock City Falls. She is looking for a picture of the Kears store in Rock City Falls and one of My Young store in West Milton. Please feel free to send me pictures of some of the more recent stores too, such as the Rainbow Store and Mary's Country Store. If you have any pictures you would like to share with me, or if you know someone who has pictures, please let me know. You can reach me by email under the town website, Historian. Respectfully submitted, Terrence Stalters, Town Historian. You want to do yours? Jim Calhoun. Make sure you're on.
All right. All right, so September 2020, we did 13 marriages, 12 certified marriage certificates, 31 certified death certificates, no births, no genealogical researches, 13 foils, 293 dog licenses, and 186 hunting and fishing, with a town share of $3,137.85.
Anything from our liaison reports?
I have the
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have
I forgot Ryan.
adjustments.
Yep, sorry.
Milton Town Court Summary Report for September 1st through the 30th. We have charges received, 84, charges dismissed or disposed, 125. Total collected to the state comptroller, fines $4,748, surcharges $4,202, civil fees $625, for a total of $9,575.
The Buildings and Grounds Committee at the county level has decided to pay the gas bills for the building on Woodlawn Avenue that Shelters of Saratoga will be using for the winter for their Coast Loop shelter. And the Human Resources Committee, we have funded the bus that takes kids to and from doctor's appointments and school that was done on a per child basis, but with COVID, that's not working out. There's not as many trips, so they're now funding it by the day rather than by the trip. Anything from our liaisons?
Yeah, I have one quick thing. Today was a pretty miserable day out, and I noticed first thing this morning our highway crew was out working. They worked in this weather all day long, servicing the residents of our community. I think they deserve an attaboy for that. It just shows you the caliber of employee that we have in this town, that we take care of our residents, even in the bad weather.
They were out yesterday at 6:30 in the morning too.
Thank you, John.
Okay, zoning and planning. We had zoning board for September 24th. There was a public hearing and approval of a variance at 3763 Lewis Road. It's a 63-foot setback. There was also a public hearing for an area variance for Sticks and Stones Holding. Public hearing left open because of the cemetery on that property. There was public hearing on the active solar at 434 Soderman Road. It was a ground cover variance. Public hearing was left open for that. An area variance application for 11 Deerfield to install a 14 by 25 garage carport, 5-foot setback needed. Public hearing was set for October 22nd. Planning board, October 21st, with continuation and site plan review, the active solar on Soderman Road. Special meeting set for Friday, October 30th at 7:05 p.m. Amendment to 91 Hutchins Road, PDD, to add the 19 two-car garages as was presented tonight. There's also a site plan review for 433 Geyser Road properties in the town center. We need the review for the interior changes, parking, sewer, water will be further addressed at the November meeting. And then we had another zoning board meeting, October 22nd. Public hearing for 11 Deerfield for carport. The variance was approved. Continuation of the public hearing at Sticks and Stones Holding at 1073 Middle Line. They're asking for just over, almost a 2-acre variance for the 5 acres, which is needed in the R2. And Tom, you probably know where this is. There's a real holdup because there are gravestone. Well, the applicant says it's not a cemetery, but the definition of cemetery is where anyone's interred, so I think that one's gonna be a while. Any further discussion on the cemetery and stipulations? The town is requesting to protect the area. That's continued to November meeting, and also a continuation of the public hearing for the active solar variance was approved.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll now move on to public comment. Sharon?
Hi there. I have a question about the contingency account, the money that was just moved there. When I first started working on the committee, the budget committee, we swore we weren't going to spend any more of that money this year. And now there's some $40,000 for medical dental. I would like to know what that was for, if it's okay.
There is an issue with a miscalculation on health insurance for the employees, and we're getting to the bottom of it. But at this time, we need to transfer that money to make payments.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else? Bruce?
Thank you. Wasn't here at the last meeting, but I did watch the video, and I just want to say thanks, Mr. Froelich, for your analysis of the sewer company revenue and repayment. That was absolutely spot on. It would have been nice to see some additional action on that. Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to address you. At the last meeting, you provided information titled the 2020 User Collector Rates to the board and to the public, which was this document. You said these are the user rates other parts of the county pay for sewer. Where did you get this document?
From the county.
Saratoga County?
Yes, sir.
SD number 1? Sewer district?
Well, I asked for the sewer rates in the county, and that's what they gave me, so I would have to go along with that.
Okay. You stated, and I quote, as you guys can see, out of the towns or parts of towns that use sewer, the rate the sewer company charges, I'm going to assume you're referencing Heritage Spring Sewer Works, is actually below most other towns charge their residents. How did you arrive at that conclusion?
I really don't want to get into a question and answer with you, Bruce. After the
Well, it's
meeting.
very important, because you made a statement that, according to this document, the sewer company rates are lower than other folks are paying. That's your statement, so it's very simple. How'd you arrive at that conclusion?
Well, I guess I looked at it, since I don't have it in front of me. It says Town of Milton, $235. You see Clifton Park at $275 or $265. You see the Town of Saratoga at $365. So that to me is lower.
Yep. One would have to agree then that that was a positive statement for the sewer company. After all, lower rates are better, correct? Lower rates are better than higher rates. So that was a positive statement you made for the sewer company. If that's the case, why would you, as supervisor, be an advocate for the monopoly that you are supposed to impartially regulate? The fact is, the supervisor forwarded deceptive information to the town board and the public. You see, the county publishes rates that are accessible to every individual. You just go online and pull it up and they'll tell you exactly what the rates are. So there's no need to get it from any other place other than Saratoga County Sewer District. And the information is false and deceptive, quite frankly, because you did not include Heritage Springs rate on top of the county rate. You're absolutely correct. The county charges $237.50. You have to add on top of that $240.76, so you have a total of $478 and change. It's almost $500 a year for sewer. That makes the town of Milton the highest rate for sewer in the county. Not mentioning that if you're going to hook up, you pay $2,000 that no other town pays. It makes us the absolute highest. So when you state to your board and
30
to
seconds, sir.
excuse me?
30 seconds.
Well, you took up some of my time answering. So when you state to the board and the public that they have the lowest rates, that's false. At that point in time, Mr. Supervisor, you're no longer impartial. It looks as if you have a conflict of interest. And at that point in time, Mr. Isaacson will tell you, you don't actually have to have a conflict of interest, but the mere appearance of a conflict means you must recuse yourself. That's the way the ethics law works. I know it very well. And Mr. Isaacson was the chairman of that committee, and based on the fact that you should have known that Heritage Springs charges on top of the county. There was no way we were the lowest, yet you put that forth, and that's a positive statement for Heritage Springs while we're in the middle of a rate hearing, or I don't know when that's going to happen, but you really need to recuse yourself from that process. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Tom.
Don't worry, we'll get out of here by 9 o'clock. Thank you, and it is troubling to hear that you are sending information out and purporting it to be the lowest rate, when in fact it is not. That's false information. You take $237 and add the $240, and you get to almost $500. So that's very, very problematic. I do have to give John Froelich, Councilman Froelich, attaboy myself. I did watch the video, and I do have to thank Judy for making the video. I went up to her before the meeting and expressed my thanks because it was important to us to know what was going on, but we were unable to attend. So thank you, Judy, and John, thank you for laying that out quite clearly for the public and the board regarding Heritage Springs formation, their ability to get back some of their money, and also you went linear in regards to how much they've gotten back. It's simple math, and I'm glad to see our comptroller here today, and that's what he specializes in, is math. So this should go quite well. My question to the board and to you, Supervisor, is when is the public sewer rate hearing going to be scheduled?
I'm not going to answer because I don't want to take up any of your precious time, so you
Thank you.
as soon as we can.
Now, the way I look at it is, I guess that the town should lead by example. When you all start following the law, I'll start following your policy regarding whether I got 3 minutes. We are on an important subject, and the board is now 3 years overdue. You're supposed to review rates at least once every 5 years, and that was in 2012, and 5 years would make it 2017, and we are now 2020, and that's 3 years overdue. I heard a presentation from Mr. Toohey about a PDD, and you had on your agenda to set a public hearing. How'd you know you wanted to set a public hearing? He made a presentation, maybe you didn't want to set a public hearing. But we've been here since July, not to mention the fact that it's overdue since 2017, but since July of this year, and there hasn't been a public hearing set. And you heard that at Hutchins Road, and you set a public hearing right out of the box. I hear you tabled the motion to accept MJ's scope, and I have no idea what that scope is, because Transportation Corporation law is very clear about what needs to happen and when. I didn't know MJ Engineering was in the accounting business. Section 1 118 of the TCL references cost certification, and that's where the engineer would come in. And that was done in 2010, that cost certification. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it was done.
Thank you, sir, your time is up.
I don't believe so. I think based on what's going on, I'm entitled to more time. Why do I think I'm entitled to more time?
I don't know why you think you're entitled to more time either, sir. You've had your 3 minutes uninterrupted.
Good.
Thank you
Great.
very much.
And I'm going to keep on going, okay? The whole world can riot, burn, loot, and steal. All I'm doing is standing up here and peacefully protesting your lack of work and your lack of effort and your lack of doing what is required under the law. And I have come here week after week and month after month and year after year. I haven't burned anything down. I haven't broken anything. The whole America, people are upset. They're running around and breaking into stores. I'm not breaking into any store. I'm simply coming here and trying to present my case to you, and I can't do it in 180 seconds, and I don't understand why you want to continually not allow this to proceed and go forward. Mr. Frohl has brought up an important thing, and it was adherence to the Public Works Law. And that was adhered to strictly, and rightly so it should be adhered to. But Transportation Corporation Law is a law that you have not adhered to, and you continue to not adhere to. So as long as you don't adhere to the law, I don't think I'm going to adhere to your policy.
Does anyone attending the meeting on Zoom wish to make a comment this evening?
So I'm going to ask you, who was in attendance at the meeting you referenced? Because I know Jim Craig was there, I know you were there, and who else was at this meeting with MJ?
Seeing none,
Who from
I will
MJ
close
was
the
here?
public comment. Thank you, sir.
Who was here from MJ?
Public comment is now closed. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if we don't have anything for executive session.
Actually, I have a couple
There was
items.
somebody else who wanted to speak. Jason also wanted to speak.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Couple of items I need to bring up.
Okay.
I know you and I,
Again, just a second. Jason, apparently Mr. Bogosian is unwilling to yield the floor.
Why don't I ask you quickly? You made a budget transfer from the 1620.2 to the 1640.4, I believe, to pay for the highway. I just wanted to make sure that's for the office trailer.
Yes.
What is the 1640.4?
Central garage.
Okay, that doesn't exist. So unless there was a budget amendment, I'm not sure what that is.
It doesn't exist in the budget.
Okay, so how can we transfer money to a line item that doesn't exist?
Going to create appropriation.
You create prior to making a budget transfer, correct? I think that's what Mr. Bogosian's getting at, policy and procedure, doing things correctly. Sorry to interrupt you, Tom.
That's not a problem. You're here doing town business. I'm trying to do town business. We're all trying to do town business except the supervisor who wants to shut down.
There's a motion to adjourn the meeting.
no, I got.
No, I didn't hear it. Go ahead,
Okay.
Councilman Frosch. I got no place to go.
We have, I know you and I talked to Ray Atkins from the community. They would be interested in moving their operation up to across from the firehouse. I would just like a consensus from the board that we be in agreement with that so that we can start to move that process forward, if we could.
Yeah, it's been a long-term goal of the ambulance corps to get out of the village. And we have to look into the legalities of moving up to the town property, but they would like to move up to Geyser Road. It's actually more centrally located for their calls that are happening now. And so that's what they're interested in doing. So I think John's correct in just a general consensus. Do we think that we want to look into the possibility of the ambulance corps moving up to Geyser Road? If the board can come to a consensus, then we can go back to Ray and say, look, the board thinks this is a good idea, let's get started.
So what would it involve? What would they want? What would they want from us? Would they want us to,
Basically, they're looking for land.
that they want us to donate, or just?
Well, that's one of the things we have to figure out, but they're looking
Correct.
for.
Because I know there's some legal things involved as far as this was all listed as public parkland. So we have to look at what we can do and can't do, but before we send Jim off on a mission to look at that, I just like consensus that everybody thinks this is a good idea and that we would be interested in certainly having them up here.
Right. Is this property that we own
Yes.
currently? Okay, it's a park.
Right now, it's the park and ride lot.
Okay. Yeah, I would certainly be in favor of getting them out of their current place. Someplace where they got a little extra land and move.
They've actually outgrown their building.
Space, yeah, space to move around. I would go for that.
What happened to park and ride?
We can relocate the park and ride.
To where?
We have 13 acres there, so we'll find a place.
I know a lot of people use it.
It made sense to put it across from the firehouse for a couple of reasons. We can line up driveways, we can put in an emergency light if we need it for both facilities.
You could hook up sewer too, but anyway, just a heads up.
Tom, before you go on, I have a
Okay.
So are we all in favor of
As long as we kept updated on what's going on, and I know there's a, well, you said an issue with,
Well,
as long as the board is kept updated on what's happening here, and I also, I think you explained to me the issue with the dedicated parkland, so Jim is gonna have to look into that, and I think there's gonna be a lot more to it than just moving them in, but I understand. So I agree that we start looking at that. Thank you.
Hey, John, I have an answer. Parkland alienation, as long as it's municipal, you can do that, you just can't sell it for commercial development. We've been over this before, we've done all this before, back in 2017.
okay.
Well, I'm gonna have our attorney look at it, so.
You all set with that, right?
I'm not opposed to it. The only concern is I know we put a lot of money into developing the park and ride. So where does that leave us if we have to redevelop the park and ride? With drainage and asphalt and,
I really, the parking lot that the town did was more a parking lot for the park, and also the section in between they put in for the park and ride. We'll have to work all that out.
yeah, I'm not opposed. It's just a question.
I just want to raise a technical question. Is this a public comment as a fire department, or is this as a public?
No, this, I'm trying to get what I have on my thing.
I'm only a little humor.
Finished, and the second thing was that I have the initial plans from MJ for a rehab of the town hall and the spec book. I tentatively set a meeting this afternoon with Jenny for Friday at 10 o'clock, if that works for, I know the facilities committee and stuff, to look over the plans and make sure that we've included everything that was supposed to be included. I also talked to Jenny about setting a date for putting this out to bid, and if everything's copacetic or needs some minor changes, we'd look at these, November 10th is being the first day to pick up specs, and the bid to be opened on December 2nd. So I'd like to get those approved tonight so we can move forward with that.
Can we do that after we meet with the facilities committee to make sure everything is good?
Well, just looking at the plans quickly, and I did this afternoon, there really isn't anything major that they probably can't get done before the 10th. So it is more of getting it in the paper, because I know Brenda needs 10 days. So that was my reason to do that. Yeah, we wouldn't put it out. If they're not ready, then we just can't put it out, but I think I want to try and keep this moving forward. And the last thing is I will call Dave Meager tomorrow, because I know he has some insurance requirements that need to go into the specs. And I know MJ is pretty familiar with those types of hold harmless agreements, but I want to make sure that we get the right wording in there for that.
I'd make a motion, but I'm not up there.
Yeah,
But you never know.
I guess, John, I'm not sure what it is you're asking to do. If we don't have complete bid specs, you're taking a risk if you set a date for bid openings. Is that what you're asking, a date for bid openings? You're gonna have to kick it out far enough.
Bid openings would be December 2nd.
Okay, so kick it out far enough so there's ample time to finish those bid specs, approve the bid specs, advertise,
Yeah,
and then have a bid opening on that day.
correct. And I think that December 2nd date shouldn't be a problem. Do we have to advertise, if we advertise for the bids, does that have to be a legal thing, or how do we?
You can make a motion tonight to advertise, but again, you have to have those bid specs ready, otherwise,
Well, I should know after.
before we
Friday.
advertise, yeah.
I will know exactly where we stand with it.
And then we would do that on our meeting on the 12th?
Well, if we do it on the 12th, then you're gonna push it off another 2 weeks, you're gonna push your bid openings off another 2 weeks.
That's all right, we pushed the sewer off like 5 years, so. Okay. Not a problem.
Tom,
What?
sit down, please.
Jim, I'm protesting.
Go get a sign and walk back and forth.
No, I don't get a sign, I'm not burning anything
That's
down.
enough, gentlemen, that's
Yeah.
enough.
No, I'm asking a reasonable question, Jim. I asked the question, who was at a private meeting about a public rate hearing? I think that's,
I'm talking with John right now.
okay, I'll quiet until you're done.
So if you want, you can ask the board if they want to make a motion.
Can we make that motion
Advertise.
to
Set
advertise?
your date.
I have a few days before she actually has to put it in the paper. Right?
Answer my question.
So we should be
Public
able to.
comment.
I should be able to make sure. If she does, if we aren't prepared, then she just
Then we
won't.
just won't put it in the paper?
Paper.
All right, so what's the date you want it for?
November 10th.
That will be the date that people can pick up the specs.
Correct. And then the bid opening would be on December 2nd.
So that would give people 1, 2, 3 weeks.
Correct.
Okay.
And that gives us a week before our meeting for MJ to review the bids and go through all that process, so at our meeting. we
On the
should
9th,
have-
we should
Yes.
be able to award a contract.
Well, no. Because we're gonna have to wait 30 days right now for a permissive referendum
Right, I'm sorry.
from the date that she posts that in the paper to even get the money. And God forbid if it should get challenged,
And it's another 45 days.
well, whatever, we'd have to set up a public vote,
Yep.
so.
Okay. So we need a motion to,
Go out for bid,
on November
10th,
10th,
with a bid opening on the 2nd,
on December 2nd.
yes.
I'm going to make it.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second? Second. Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalatni.
Yes. Anything else, John?
That's it for me.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
I just like one answer, and you can adjourn, and I can go home also. Who was at the private meeting that you were at with Jim Craig, MJ, Heritage? Who were the people? And why were you in a private meeting about a public rate hearing?
I meet with people all the time.
I know you do, but this is a regulating in a public rate hearing. I'm not talking about meeting people all the time. I'm talking about a specific event.
When was this?
You had referred to it in the last meeting that you met. You looked right at Jim, and Jim was there, MJ, I don't know who from MJ was there, Heritage, and it's in the video. It was about a minute 10, 12, so you can go back and look at it.
I don't recall.
You don't recall who was at the meeting?
I don't recall when the meeting was. No, I don't.
No.
Monday before the meeting, you stated.
The Monday before the town board meeting. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it.
I don't remember the meeting
You
where
don't?
it happened at.
2 weeks?
No? No, because you go back and watch the video, you referenced that you met with Heritage, you met with MJ, you met with Robinson. And you spoke at public, and it's on video, and I want to know who was at the meeting and why you're meeting with the sewer company when you're supposed to be in a public rate hearing.
My answer is I was not at that meeting.
Okay, because he just looked at, and maybe Jim meant Jim Mitchell, not Jim Craig. I don't know.
I don't remember. Bruce.
You don't remember?
I do not remember.
Wow.
Numbers.
There you
He
go.
does.
See, I really don't remember.
You remember?
I don't remember.
Motion to adjourn, please.
I strongly suggest that you take action on a public rate hearing. Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Hold board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Carter.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Osopson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalapia.
Yes, thank you, good night.
%60 off the unregulated anaerobic sewer water, and EDP management, all of that. Huh? Oh, I'm gonna send, yeah, I was sending oil, Brenda. I was gonna bring it tonight and I forgot it. Because and just so that we know and we're all here publicly, I will be foiling Heritage Springs Sewer Works tax returns from 2010 to 2019 inclusive, and they must be supplied because that was settled in court that those records are foilable. So I don't want to have any back and forth on that. Remember that case? You don't, why not? I'll be happy.
Didn't we say that they're supposed to be in their report anyway?
Tax returns are never in the report, never in the
Never looked at.
So I look at them every year, so. But I don't think so. And I didn't know that.
That was not a stipulation of that resolution, that they had to include tax returns, but because they perform a function within the town, they are
Because it was form of public function for the town, they were declared as their foilable, and that's how I got all the records.
Tell them to do that for my house.
Deliver them because, don't show $1 million back. No, I'm missing 10 to 19. Yeah, I got everything at 10.
Have a good night.
Okay, but I didn't foil them, so. Because I thought we would actually have a rate hearing and then have one. I don't want to come in and do the thing, I don't want to be at loggerheads with you. This is stupid. We can save the residents $4,000 a year, we can grow the town, we can grow the tax base, we can increase the revenue to the town, and all we do is support the sewer company that sucks millions of dollars out of this town and don't abide by the law.
I'm speaking by.
Thanks, Doc, sorry.
I don't understand. What's the reluctance?
I don't want to get into a back and forth.
Well, you like, you got a right to do it. You don't like it, leave. Okay? It's okay.
Tonight, find it tomorrow.